Mr. Cox, could you please describe your philosophy on business?
Well, I think that my father and my grandfather instilled in me that you're only as good as your word. And so in business, I believe that total honesty is the only way you can operate. Because if you don't, it will catch up with you, and the small percentage of profit that you might make by being dishonest is certainly not worth the risk nor your word.
I agree. Could you describe a little bit about your career, please?
Well, I would say it's been up and down. No, I go all the way back to 1970, and I can't get too, it's too long a story as to how I wound up with 3 closed service stations in Memphis, Tennessee. But that's how it all got started. They were all 3 closed. I ran one and found 2 dealers to run the other 2, and it all started from there. And over the years, slowly but surely, we evolved from service stations into convenience stores, and now we are operating 49 stores.
Okay. And could you describe any changes that you've seen in the company or business over the years? A lot, I'm sure. But
Well, I have sold gasoline for 19.9, and now it's about $3.50 a gallon. So there's a lot of change in that. From the fact that we probably do more sales on a weekend now than we did in my first year in business. Technologically, with IT, the complications that have developed with how you run a business now versus when I started is just unbelievable.
Well, what have you seen or experienced over your professional life that had an impact on your business?
Well, I think it probably today is more regulated, much more regulated from the government, everywhere from the local to the state to the federal government. And I spend 85% of my time finding out whether we're legal or illegal in some of the things we have to do and what the new laws are and all of the taxes that we have to pay.
I think that's true in a lot of businesses. Are there any funny stories that you've had?
Well, there's a bunch of them. But the first time I went to borrow money in Memphis, Tennessee, was about 3 months after I'd been in business, and I was going after my 4th service station. And it was on Front Street, if you can imagine how bad that location would have been. And I needed $2,000 for 4 pumps and an air compressor. And I went to First Tennessee Bank, and I went in and introduced myself and told the loan officer there that I wanted to borrow $2,000. And he asked me what kind of collateral I had, and I said, well, I'm a college graduate. And then after he quit laughing over several minutes, I had to finally plead my case, and it took me a long time, but I got that loan. And of all the millions of dollars that we have borrowed since that time, that was the toughest loan I ever got.
First one. Well, I guess sometimes they're not impressed with a college degree.
No, not at all.
Oh, goodness. Well, what influenced your success as a business leader and as a community leader, too?
Well, I'm not sure I'm a community or business leader.
Yes,
but,
you are. That's why you're here.
But my father and my grandfather's work ethic, I just grew up in that. And I also noticed that successful people usually wind up having been broke 2 or 3 times before they actually made it. I know I've been broke twice, and I've refused to admit it, and I think that's what happens to these people is they just never give up. No matter how bad it gets, never give up.
Good philosophy. Can you describe the changes you have experienced in our community? In our own community, you know.
Well, I grew up where Jernigan's clinic is now.
Okay.
That's where I lived on Russell Street. And I used to fly a kite over what most of the hospital is now. It was just a big grassy area back then. Reelfoot Avenue was 2 lanes, and we didn't have a bypass or Goodyear. There's not been any one, I'm going to ask your next question.
Okay.
There's not been any one single event that has actually made or break our community over the last 40 years.
Okay. Let's see. What have you seen or experienced over your professional life that has had an impact on the community? Or is that what we were just answering?
No, I
Okay.
got something for that.
Okay.
I think that we've slowly transitioned from a manufacturing area to one that's not a manufacturing area. And I think the primary reason, again, is government involvement, and I'm talking about the federal government basically now. We have too much intervention, tax requirements and so forth that causes other companies to relocate somewhere else, whether somewhere else in this country or overseas. And as you can probably beginning to get a drift, I'm not big on government. And again, government gets involved in the community, whereas we should be helping the people in our community.
Yes.
Not the government.
Yes. I agree. Any funny stories?
Well, again, I won't mention any names, but the senior center that now
Yes.
we have, Eddie Cox Senior Center, came about, sometimes doors close and then doors open. And actually, there is a woman in this community who deserves some credit for getting that senior center going, because she called me. It's back when we were doing catering business out of that building, and she called me and wanted me to guarantee on August, sometime the first part of August, that the temperature in that room at 5 o'clock in the afternoon would be 71 degrees. And I told her I couldn't do that, and she got a little belligerent about it. And so finally, when we hung up and I wished her well going wherever she would go to get that kind of temperature, I just decided, well, that's it. I'm going to close that building. And then out of that, now we have a very successful senior center. So
Yes.
God has His way.
That's right. That's right. What do you want to accomplish with the rest of your life for our community?
I am trying. And again, I'm having a problem through the government doing it. I want to establish a foundation here locally that the primary reason for that foundation would be to help small churches in our community that maybe have a $40,000 or $50,000 project that they need to have, that they're just local year-to-year budgets will not permit them to do. And I would love to be able to do that. I've had a problem getting that set up as
Really?
of this time.
That sounds like a good project. I hope you can get around that. Do you remember an event that happened in your youth that had a major impact on your life?
I would just have to say probably that there were several coaches in my life that had a real effect on me. And I think sometimes I wonder if coaches have an idea of how important they are and a few things they can say that can change a child's life.
I agree with that too. Being a child, I mean, those are your most impressionable moments, and positive enforcement goes a long way at that age. If you could leave one message to the future generations, what would it be? Work hard?
Well, that goes without saying, but don't spend more than you make.
That's another good one.
And just be financially responsible.
Yes. I think we could all benefit from that, especially the way our society's been going lately in our government and government.
I know, this comes out every time you
It
do
does, and it
Yeah.
just comes out of your mouth. As you look back, what do you wish you had accomplished that you have not?
Well, from a very personal standpoint, I wish I'd been a better father.
Describe your philosophy on life, please.
Well, I believe that each one of us are given certain talents from God, and I believe that we're just stewards of what we're given. I think that it's up to each one of us to determine what we can do to help our fellow man, and that you always have to be able to trust in the Lord.
And how do you want to be remembered?
Well, I just would like to be remembered as somebody who genuinely tried to help people.
Well, are there any personal funny stories that you might have?
Well, not that we could probably get into in this time frame.
Would be appropriate?
No, there are several, but you know, I think it's important in my life. It's been very important for me to be able to have people be minority owners in the different partnerships and companies that I have. I have 16 people who actually own a little part of this real estate venture or that real estate venture or this company or that company. And I think it's wonderful to watch these people develop, and I get a sense of pride. I probably ought to sell out and retire, but they keep me going. And you know, if you want to talk about success, to me, in my life, it's just been a series of failures that were corrected.
I appreciate your time.
I'm flattered that you asked.
It's been an honor for me to be able to talk to you, and I think you've set a great example for our community, and that's why I chose to interview you. So I just, we need people that work hard, and I think it's good for the younger generation to see people that set good examples for us and contribute. I like people that contribute, and I hope I teach my children to contribute. And like you say, I think everybody has things that they're good at, or you know, they're born with, and that they can give to society, and I hope they do it to the best of their ability. And
I know with the current unemployment situation, a lot of college graduates, I understand, now are going into business for themselves. And I can't speak enough about that. Not everybody can do that, but the risk and rewards for private ownership are just tremendous, and I would encourage anyone who can possibly go into business for themselves to do it. They will grow up quickly.
Yes, especially after a few failures, right?
And after the first payroll.
But that can make more character. That's right. That's right. Well, thank you for your time. I have enjoyed it.
Thank you.